He can't start laughing immediately. He has a
You
speech
can.
impediment. He only talks in robot sounds.
Yeah, I'm like, Craig, your mic. Check your mic. You're coming through like a robot.
Yep.
He's an orc barbarian, and he suffered an arrow to the throat. So he had to
Okay.
buy a magical voice box to fix it, and now he has this like synth wave kind of tone to his voice. So
Yeah, I can see him to that. That's
yeah.
So as you guys could tell, we have guests this week, but we're going to do our normal intro. I'm Jay. I'm joined with my co-host Christopher, Christian, and Dan. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hello there.
Damn it! Still, come on, man. Just one time, say, "Hi, guys."
I did it the one time.
Yeah, you aren't here. That's your problem, not
Yeah.
his. All right, Christian, social medias and stuff.
You can find the Grumpy Dungeon Masters on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, or wherever else you get your podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, and you can find us streaming on Twitch TV Tuesday and Thursday evenings. And one day, before the fall of a nuclear winter, we will see the return to your favorite coast, the Forgotten Realms, to one of the jewels of that coast, the city of Waterdeep, where an epic tale of heroes versus villains is being played out with a resolution yet to be seen. So stay tuned for Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher's D&D 5e game, Waterdeep Worldborn Dead, coming eventually.
At this point, I feel embarrassed, especially when we have guests on and like, why aren't you doing your D&D stream anymore? I don't know. All the players died. I don't know.
So welcome, gentlemen. I am joined this week with Hunter and Heavy. Great names, by the way. You guys are of Taleworth Game Studio, correct?
Talesworth, yeah.
Game Studio. Yep.
Damn it, I got it wrong.
We're
Talesworth.
close though.
That's so close. I had it written down right. I just misread it. And we wanted to get you guys on because you have created our favorite demo, at least among the four of us, the Secret of Weepstone. And I fucking love this game. I cannot wait for the final version.
Same.
There we go.
Me too.
Yeah. We're also quite invested in that. Yep.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
One would hope.
So out of the gate, I want to know, firstly, because I can see a lot of the inspiration for the game, but what role-playing games are you guys currently enamored with that might have led you to create this game?
Oh, see, that you bifurcated it because the answers are different. I'm enjoying some games now that have nothing to do with Weepstone.
Yeah, go ahead.
So like of the two of us, I think it's a solid bit that I'm like obsessed with rule systems for RPGs just for their own sake. So it's a lot of really cool like tiny small press stuff I've been reading. But I think like, obviously the big one right now everyone's into and I think is pretty cool is I helped kickstart Shadow Dark back in the day and haven't had a chance to run it, but like I think it's a pretty solid outing. I've heard that it runs pretty well, so that's been, I think it's like funny because that wouldn't have inspired Weepstone. It just draws from the same well we're drawing from in a lot of ways as far as inspiration for like artwork and design and like all of that, because Weepstone is like died to the roots, classic BX era, AD&D at the latest for the most part, D&D.
Yeah, it's not very exciting of an answer, but I mean, the last time we played, it was Caves of Chaos. We replayed in BX. I mean, I've played a lot of DCC. You can see those influences in Weepstone, of course. But I mean, reading wise, I just picked up. I'm the last person on the planet to just pick up Pirate Borg, and just in working on Weepstone, I've read so many. I can't even tell you the names of them. I've pulled down so many rule systems, just like PDFs, and just reading through like what everyone's doing now. But
Yeah.
when we play, it's usually some iteration of. I mean, speaking for myself, it's usually some iteration of early D&D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of tracks. Like I run a lot of DCC, like Dungeon Crawl Classics. I've been running through the Caverns of Thracia.
Cool.
Okay.
And at Gary Con, we played a bunch of Pirate Borg. By the way, if you've not played Pirate Borg, it runs incredibly. I've played the game 3 times ever at Gary Con. I came home after buying the book and just ran it. I didn't
Wow.
even read the book. I just ran the game.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It, it's a big part of
all the
RPG.
old, yeah, all the big old school games. I've always taken pride in how easy it is to pick up. But I will say that of all of them, Pirate Borg is the easiest that I've ever gotten my hands on, because it
That's
has
that's
modern
a lot. It's
mechanics.
crazy. Yeah.
But it is so simple to understand and learn that within 5 to 10 minutes, everybody at a table who's never touched Pirate Borg or even opened a book can roll up their characters and begin playing. Because
That's the biggest thing, right? Like I'm nowadays I don't run as many campaigns because we're both incredibly busy, and I don't like leaving stuff unfinished, so I like running a lot of like one shots, maybe a 2-shot, right? So I'm a pretty good like in and out episodic DM, and so a big part of that is if you're going to generate characters, which like for a one shot, maybe you don't even, right? But in a system like that, you can let people show up and roll their characters. Morkborg, right, is also kind of similar. I mean, obviously they same DNA, but I love that about Morkborg, where you could like sit someone down on the table and be like, okay, so you've never played anything. Roll these dice. Like, all right, here's who you are. You're probably gonna die. Let's go. Like,
yeah, and
Yep.
that's just also the other great thing about Pirate Borg. Like, if you die, there's no like stopping the game or let's have an decide over here or how we're gonna get this next guy in here. No, there's another pirate in the crew that just fucking shows up as the combat continues on. Like, hey, yeah, Jed just shows up and he was on the lookout and he's replacing the guy that just fell to the other pirates. So here we are, and like there's no explanation. Everyone understands what's going on. It's just so good.
I always think that's an unspoken strength of the retainer system in older RPGs too, right? Which was if you're a type of group who requires some verisimilitude of like, where'd this guy come from? You can always just be like, well, the torchbearer decided he's a fighter now. Here you go, get in there, kiddo. Like,
Yeah.
you've just got like a bunch of dudes carrying boxes and torches and whatever. And if they're still alive somehow, you can, like, all right, here you go. He found his calling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nodwick the adventurer.
And that just kind of leads me into part of what I already love about y'all's game, is modern games, like especially like D&D 5e and the likes. You're essentially playing superheroes, and it's a rarity if somebody dies and stays dead.
Yeah.
The fact that you guys have it integrated into the system that there's a benefit for the rest of the party when somebody dies in your game is effing fantastic, and I love that.
Oh my god! So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, I think that when roguelikes started to make a comeback in video games, 10 years ago or something, I think that was in certain types of games, people have gotten used to dying, and that kind of system. And I thought, when it comes to a game like this, though, especially on the tail of like Baldur's Gate 3, like I was like, oh great, right when we're doing this role playing game, one of the best, most famous role playing games of all time comes out. But people are trained to play a certain way in computer RPGs, and so the instinct to just immediately load game when someone dies, especially if they're permanently dead, it's just it was going to be too strong. So I had to come up with something that was going to, it's okay. It's okay if someone dies. Don't they had to sweeten the pot a little bit, and it's a big part of the story too, which you'll learn the farther you get.
Would you say the Secret of Weepstone?
It is a secret of Weepstone right now.
Fantastic.
I don't know if it's the Secret of Weepstone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think even the way the I don't know if this is the way the game is going to start, but the way the demo starts, where you're in that tavern and you're just like, hey, pick some of these guys, and these guys are who's going to venture in. Like, it helps kind of give you a little bit of detachment. Like you're not creating your character where you pick out every little detail and
I'm
go through
glad that
how they
comes
look.
across
And
because we talked about that so much.
Yeah,
About
the entire mini game of creating a character, going back to like Skyrim, when you're just picking exactly how the cheekbones are going to fucking look, and like I don't
Right.
fucking care. I'm gonna play this dwarf. He's a smith.
yeah,
Right.
but I think that helps get you some of that. Like you're not as there, you don't form as much of that attachment, so you're more willing to be like, what can I do with these guys instead of I am this person and I really want them to
Right.
live and make it all the way through. It's more I want my party as a whole to go through here and see how far can I get, what can I uncover, what can I figure out.
It's funny because that comes up a
Yeah.
lot in the narrative stuff too, right? When we're writing the DM text, which is like my, primarily what I do on the team, Sean and I talked about it a lot, and I made a really concerted effort as we've been like revising to make sure that like it reinforces that in the way that it talks to you, because it doesn't say, when it says you, it means you, like broadly, the party, right? Sometimes it'll refer to the party, but usually it'll say you, but it means all of you, right? Like, so to give you that sense of like you are, there's like this weird meta detachment that's kind of hard. We're like really going for it on purpose, but like these characters are your avatars, right? They're not you per se. And like I think that I'm glad that comes through, because it doesn't come up a ton, but that's super intentional, right? Because
Yeah.
that's so much of old school D&D.
I
I
was
spend a lot of time. But
Yeah, it reminds me of the kind of old school party where you would have, a stable of characters, right? In old games where you weren't always playing just the one character. Sometimes you were playing, you had multiple characters and you would send them out to do different things. Maybe sometimes they were in the same party, or maybe they were off doing other things while one group is traveling to one dungeon, this other guy's going there.
sure.
And so you weren't ever, it was, how can you get your characters to do things and have adventures instead of my one guy that is my only thing that I've wrapped my heart around?
A really big difference in 5e, because I've talked to a lot of my, a lot of friends around my age. I started playing D&D super young, so I started in second edition, and most of them didn't start until like fifth, right? And so fifth is way late for me in my D&D playing, so I'm much closer to like the old school way of playing. And when I talk to friends who've only ever played 5e, they can't really, until like if you can sit them down at a table, you can get them to understand, but like wrap their minds around like I'm so invested in my narrative. If my character dies, I'd be sad. And be like, well, you would still kind of, but not as much though. And like, it's more just when we played like Caves of Chaos with our friends, right? One of the characters was like an 18 strength fighter that Sean's brother rolled, and he died in the first strike of the very first combat. But like the thief who had 1 HP never died. Who knows? It's just wild, right? Like, so that's great.
Yeah, I've been playing in Christian's Shadow Dark game for a few months now. I have 6 hit points. We're second level. Some people I think are third level. Somehow I still haven't died. I don't know how. But so when the characters in Shadow of Weepstone die, you get little abilities for it. And I loaded the game up earlier, the demo, because I hadn't played it in several months, and I just wanted to refresh myself on it, same as Chris did. And I was playing through, I get to the final boss, and one of my characters die. And the ability that I got for her death was once per combat, I can re-roll an attack. I'm like, okay, final fight, let's go. I roll the next attack with my fighter, say that in quotations, and I miss. I'm like, fuck it, let's re-roll. And I crit.
Nice.
So I was like, yeah, okay, I like this.
That worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I think about a lot when it comes to character death too is imagine that you're a 5e player and that's all you've ever played and you love it and you've been playing for a few years with your friends and you've never had a character die like that. That is not even part. You have no stories of character death in your whole entire history of playing that game. I mean, what a different experience that would be. I mean, some of my best stories are characters dying. I mean, Hunter and I have so many funny stories and it's like, it's just missing from, I felt like it was missing from like the video game world right now. And I thought, well, maybe that would be a fun thing to try to, but to make it work again, like this is just like doing it all in black and white was it was very difficult to make it work and have the graphics not mush into each other and there's all these challenges that come with it. We're always trying to solve encounters in a creative way because like the monsters are 2D, and the NPCs are 2D, and how do we build this encounter? And there has to be a place for the dice to roll. There's all these challenges around setting it all up and not feel forced. And death is the same way, like having character death work and not have people loading and have it still be really fun. And I mean, it made it a lot harder, but I really do think it's worth it.
Yeah, it was something that's very unique to that game. You know, when I loaded it up first, I mean, I think my initial impression was, oh, this is just Shadow Dark the video game. And when I found out that it wasn't that, and it was, you know, an older version of D&D with a couple modifications, like that was like a unique thing. Like, yeah, okay, it doesn't matter that my NPC died or my PC died, that I got something from it, and it felt like it added to the narrative. And then immediately I picked up a homeless dude, and I'm like, all right, yeah, you're the replacement, get on in. I was like, okay, that felt very intentional, yeah.
Yep.
I call them hit points. Oh, well, look, we got another hit point in the party. Great.
Mhm.
Hey, Greg, go pull that lever.
Yep.
So yeah, I played through it again just like 4 or 5 times. I did have to ask though, is there any way to open up the door? Like there's a bunch of closed doors. Are they closed because it's the demo? Because I couldn't find a way of opening those.
Those are closed because of the demo.
Okay.
Well, it depends. I mean, yes, if
lot
you're
of-
there's 3 doors I think that
3
are,
doors, yeah.
and on the map you'll know because the ones I'm talking about are solid blue. That was an idea to kind of help reinforce that. Yeah, in the demo you can't get through those. So yeah, you'll have to wait to see.
Because
Because
you were asking how much does it differ from the main game, and the answer is the start is very similar to the demo. The content of the first level that you play through in the demo is very similar, but there's so much more to that level. Like there's a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
I assumed that like in the full game, you will occasionally encounter things that you can't get through right now, but at some point, like during your continued exploration, you might find the thing that lets you get through that thing you couldn't before.
That sure is a classic thing in dungeons.
It sure is.
Yeah, in fact, in the courtyard right now, it's not in the demo, but in the courtyard, there's a large crypt that's locked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So
quite a bit of like lock and key, like progression, like, you know, again, as much as you can within the bounds of building a game at the scope and style and everything we're doing, it's really trying to like evoke the like nuts and bolts feeling of playing, right? Like I always feel like a crazy person talking about it because it's like trying to describe not making the game be D&D but it's the experience of playing it in a game form, which is like a different thing.
Yeah, no, I think it does a great job of really evoking that kind of vibe you get from it. Knowing that, it's a video game. You know, you can script for as much as you can, but you can't do everything the same way you can at a tabletop game where your GM can just make rulings on the fly.
right.
But it still feels very much like, hey, this is kind of like things I might try, or it does cover some of those things of, I know somebody would try this or want to do this.
Yeah,
We've written a lot of things that way, which is like, hey, Sean, I think we should add this option because you guys would have tried this, like for sure.
Totally.
For sure you would have tried.
Yeah,
this.
that's kind of the process. That's been the process, is like the rooms get built and you know, the way that we kind of think, okay, this is the normal way to do it, you know, like these rooms, this room, this puzzle, this encounter. And then when we're playing it, play testing it, it's like, oh, you know what we would totally do here. And then we add in all the dumb shit that we would normally do.
Which is the
really fun, weird stuff that you can do that's not
even in the demo too, though. The demo's got some. The demo
has some fun stuff.
There's a room that I remember with 3 holes in it that you should definitely climb down. Definitely.
That's an option.
Might be some gold for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, the puzzle of smelting the key and using it to unlock the armory, that was cool. I liked it. It invoked, like, I don't know if you guys ever played the Wizardry games.
Oh yeah.
On the PC. Yeah. Like it brought me back to playing Wizardry from like when I was a kid. And like this is
Wizardry cartridge is right behind me at all times.
Oh yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So like it brought me back to that. Yeah.
Yeah. All of those old computer role-playing games, like, I mean, my favorite game of all time, I always say, is Bard's Tale, the original Bard's Tale.
Yeah.
But like Bard's Tale, Wizardry, and Might and Magic, I mean, I loved all those games. Definitely
Yeah.
Gritter vibes coming through. Like I loved Grimrock 1 and 2.
Oh
In
yeah,
fact,
yeah.
the original first prototype engine long ago for Weepstone was a grid-based movement. It just wasn't working. It needed to be free move. As much as I
Yeah.
love Gritter games, and
Yeah.
it plays a lot. It's a lot smooth, like better as a free move game.
It reminds me strongly of some of the first forays that TSR took into pseudo three-dimensional video gaming, like Eye of the Beholder 1 and 2.
Yeah,
Except,
Yeah,
of course,
that's the good stuff.
the black and white feel of BX modules for the
Right.
actual art style, which just kind of combines some of the best nostalgia for me personally.
Mhm.
But yeah, whenever I first loaded it, and I realized that you actually had to have a reach weapon to be in the second line, or a ranged weapon into the third rank, I was like, oh, I remember this.
Yeah,
Good.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'll see those vibes come. In fact, like even with like this isn't in the demo, but most of your your experience is gonna come from treasure, which is kind of one of the early basic expert forms of getting XP. And you normally would have to get the treasure out of the dungeon, but because you're kind of locked in the beginning and will be, and in other places to some extent, I thought it would be good to just bring them back to a trophy case instead. And the trophy case, of course, comes from Zork, which was another. I'm older than you guys, so that was another big influence in my gaming life.
Hey, I was going to say that Zork is important to me too, okay? Because Zork is like an easy one to overlook, but God, Zork is so like critical.
I will say being older than us is debatable.
I'm 65 years old.
Yeah,
I'm good for 65. That's nice. What's your secret?
Never leaving the house.
Okay. All right. I'm working on that.
There's people
That's
out there. It's stressful.
Scary.
But yeah, there's a lot of like really, something we talk about all the time from a design perspective is like, because Sean is the designer of the game, right? But like we talk all the time about the attempt to, again, like not slavishly try to recreate things that are impossible to translate to a video game, but to, in all the steps that we take, evoke the vibe, right? So if we have to change something or in any way deviate from like the core loop of like how BX would run, the answer of why'd you do that is always because it's a video game and it needs to like function differently. So like, how do you run skill checks, right, in a game that didn't have them, which I like as a dungeon master, right? That's cool. I like the freeformness of it. Computers don't like that. Computers are not big fans of not having numbers, right? And so every choice we make is like, does this ruin the vibe of like old school kind of dungeon crawly D&D? If not, and it makes it work well for the system and it needs it, cool. That's like, we're all about it. Whereas
and we'll sit with it long and hard before, just like with the black and white thing, like there is a solution. I mean, I'll give you an example. Something that I've just put in, and it's in the current version of not the again. This is all just current working version. When you forget you memorize spells. When you forget a spell, it kind of fades in and out between these like little magic characters. So you can see with the spell as it fades in, but then it fades out again. And the easiest, most obvious thing would have been when you use a spell and it's expired and you're in your spell book and the memorize tab, it just is grayed out, right? Or it says used in parentheses. But my instinct is always to just sit with those things. And when I'm in just going around, or if I'm in the shower, I'm laying in bed in the morning, like my brain is working on those. And eventually, after a couple weeks, I came up with this idea to like fade in and out, and the letters kind of move around, up and down. They like or the symbols do. And I think it's just like, it's like sitting with those problems, like what Hunter was saying, like sitting with those things and really thinking about them. And if it really can't be solved, then we'll go with like what you have to do in a video game.
And even when we do make those like air quotes compromises, right? Like the ability checks in the game, they run on a percentile system, and that's because I'm the nerd who was like, well, if we have to make one, I really like percentile based roll under systems. They're more granular, they're easier to understand, and it will help us differentiate from what we don't want, which is if you add a DC to this game, people are going to immediately be like, I got it, right? It's Baldur's Gate, which is what we don't want. It's not Baldur's Gate, and it give you the wrong impression to set D20 dice checks. So by using the percentile system, it keeps it a little like crufty and right, because it's based on like the old school Palladium or the old school Call of Cthulhu, or
yeah. In fact, when you suggested it, that was Call of Cthulhu was right around the same time as, what was it, like 87 or 86? When was Cthulhu out? Something like that.
It was
maybe a little after.
definitely
same decade. So
I was playing it real early 90s. I actually ran a game of it tonight before we brought into the podcast. So
I love if in a perfect world I'd run D&D with a roll under percentile system. I think for me, I always liked Call of Cthulhu's skills only get better if you use them. That always felt pretty nice to me, where it's like, you can start with helicopter piloting skills, but if you're riding a fan boat through the swamps for the rest of the campaign, you're probably not going to get better at helicoptering, no matter how many experience points you get, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
The percentile thing perfectly made sense in Weepstone as well, because like rogues had percentiles for all of their skill checks. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh well, I'm going to get the rogue to try to do this thing.
Right.
I like the way that you guys handled it, though. You can just select each of the characters to see who has the best percentage chance, because it turned out it wasn't the rogue.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, because it kind of depends on what it wants, right? Because we weren't, like, generally speaking, the goal is not obfuscation unless it's to serve a greater goal, right? Like making the game is difficult in a lot of ways, and it has deadly consequences. So the last thing we ideally want to do is like not all like. There are times when you don't know everything you're doing, but the goal, right, is to like give you a shot to have made a choice in a lot of cases where it's like, fair enough, that's kind of on me. It's sort of the response you want sometimes.
Right. You want them to know the risk and to make the informed decision, because then they can say, well, I knew what I was trying to do and I chose to do that.
Yeah.
I did like the fact that I could take Tatum, the village idiot, and smash him against the captain's door until it broke open, or his face broke open. And I think the first time I played through the demo, that's what happened. He just 6 attempts, 25% or lower, trying to bash through the door and failing every single time until he died.
On the death screen, when the death screen comes up, it says defeated by a door.
And then the toilet scene, where basically you do the check on the first toilet and you kind of like peer down, and you go down there, you get the ring, you come back out, and then let's roll to see if you're poisoned, and the dice rolls and it bounces and falls into the toilet. I was like, that's just that's perfect. That's exactly what I want from my game.
I think that was the very first bit Sean ever showed me when we were working on it. He's like, hey man, let me show you something.
Let's just say you're poisoned. That's as much as all the games that I run for like the public and Adventures League and my local gaming store. There's sometimes they're like, you're just poisoned. It's like, you didn't roll. It's like, I know. Just
Well, that's again, it's just so dumb. Yeah, there's so many things. Like there's times. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but Hunter knows what I'm talking. There's just some stuff in that ground level of Weepstone that is just, I still laugh whenever I think about it. That's
I think we know we've usually, like, when we're co-writing, like we'll be like coming up with ideas for something. Like the last one that because we were at PAX together, right, and we were at dinner, and both of us like started crying profusely while laughing, trying to like work on like a bit, and I was like, and so it's in the game, don't worry, that they made it in, but like that's how you know you're on like a good thread, is when you're like hyperventilating and everyone near you is like not 100% convinced that they understand why it's funny. That's how you know you've really struck gold.
When everyone in the restaurant's looking at you, you're like, you got something there.
Yeah, the rest of the Dread crew was like, what are you guys talking about over there? Because we're both just like loudly like, oh man, it's a lot of fun to work on, truly. Like it's a lot of work, like Sean was saying, because of like choices of how the system and game works. There are a lot of things They require a lot more thought than I think it would if it was just any game, right? Like the aesthetics demand a lot. Worth
Mhm.
it for sure, but it demands a lot. And so everything is very considered because of that, right?
So that was actually going to be one of the questions that I had for you all was, this game is in demo, in development. You probably don't have a release date at all for the game. I'm guessing 2027, maybe. I hope
That
tomorrow.
that
Surprise
is
release drop
that
tomorrow.
would be great.
Or deny.
Yeah. Is a lot of development going to the engine of the game, or is it more the actual like dungeon design, encounter design, and everything?
That's a
I
great
mean, Sean,
question.
that's all Sean. Yeah.
Yeah, so all of my time, a majority of my time, well, I can't even say that. I've got a lot of plates spinning. Like some of my time is spent working with the various artists, that are illustrating. Some of my time is spent on this little bit of social media. So, all of this, there's like all these different things I'm trying to do, but the majority of my time is spent still working on systems like saving and loading, controller support, key remapping, resting, the spell system. Right now, I'm finishing up the final system, the final major system in the game, which is going back to town, which is
And
Mhm.
really,
which is like a
really,
bundle of systems, frankly, right? That's why it's so much work, is it's like a bunch of different
yeah.
things at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is a few different systems, but like going back to town is like it's a 2D environment, and I'm channeling the Village of Hamlet map art. So you can picture that, but picture it in 3D. I've got great artists that I can't say yet because we haven't struck a deal yet, but hopefully we'll work something out that's going to do that art. And then, when you go in to buy things, like say you go into the blacksmith, it actually pulls up the rule book. Like again, the first thought is like, how do we do it when we're playing? And so it actually pulls out the rule book and turns to the equipment page. And
That's
Perfect.
amazing.
I love it.
and there's supporting art, of course, and there's ambient sound and stuff like that, but every single place opportunity there is to bring that feel of playing and what it's like, I'm trying to bring that. And then as far as like the content goes, like Hunter said, Hunter's writing it, and
I feel kind
then
of lead writing maybe, but like honestly, everybody contributes to writing on a game like this a
yeah.
lot. Sean's written a lot of stuff. Like, yeah.
And
Like
then my brother, Matt, who we just call Swampy. Swampy he's been doing like level design, and he's building out the levels, and he's doing like the events that we've kind of drawn up, kind of like wiring them all up. So he's been working on content like primarily. And then, but once the goal is once I finish systems, then I'm going all content, and then it'll be, I think it's really going to start, once we're all on content. But as far as like developing content, I would say we're probably, what do you think?
we've got to be
20?
closer. 20? Oh, that's not even. I think we're
I'm
further
not
than
saying
that,
like the
really.
game, but just like the actual content.
I
What do
think
you
it might
think?
be further than that though, because so
Yeah,
much of the work is in the design of the levels, and so like the way it works right
that's
now is
true.
like Sean's working on system. Like we finally, the first like dungeon, really like levels 1 and 2 of it, was our like finding out the exact optimal way to do it, and like that's when Matt came on too, right? Like Matt joined to help like continue building while Sean did systems, because when it was just me and Sean was like doing systems, going to levels, doing systems, going to levels, which like
Mhm.
made it really difficult to balance. So having Matt able to do a lot of like, we've already mapped this out. We've all talked about what encounters are in each room. We know it's going to be like Matt can start rigging stuff, and then what is left for Sean is like, oh, there's a specific one-off encounter in this room that requires custom code. We'll leave that for Sean. Sean will come in and then also do just like a polish pass. So we're in the phase now where like Matt and I meet and talk about like, okay, so the next level, here's what like should happen, and like let's change the flow because of this. And that's while Sean is off coding systems. Matt and I can nail down like this encounter in this room, which feeds into this one, and we're drawing like optimal paths over maps and stuff, so that when Sean shows up, it's like cool, we can slam all the rooms together, put and then play test and see how like our theory craft actually plays, right, in a cycle.
Yeah, but like
it-
most of the maps of the game are drawn, and so and then we're just slowly kind of zooming in farther and farther and farther to the
It's a very
content.
iterative design process where like, because
Mhm.
again, we learned while doing the earlier stuff, there are a lot of things that the aesthetics of the system demand that are not obvious until you do enough of it to realize like, we already know that this won't work unless we design it differently because of the system. So in all the levels that come after, we spend a lot of time making sure we're like designing with that in mind. Like, this will work perfectly great.
Right.
And that's really cool. And like, it's very interesting that the core 10 poles of the story are probably done.
The story's done. We know story's all done.
Yeah, you're working on together. So like once you get all the systems designed, okay, Weepstone 2, much faster release time because the systems are in place, and you just here's what was that? What you use in the map?
We will slap him for you.
In fairness, it's a content heavy game, so any sequel is still going to be a lot of lifting. But like anything of prefabricated reuse would make it go a little faster. But like it's honestly, it's a lot of work. I watch Sean work on this thing all the time.
I would be very excited to do a second one for that reason, because like controller support has been a freaking nightmare. Like every time I have to work on it, it's just like pulling my hair out. But like, so once all of that stuff is done and I don't have to think about that crap anymore, then that's
because it just works. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I am so excited to be, and even the event system, like it's a custom event system that I made for doing things like, when you walk up to this, the menu comes up and here's the options, so like I built this whole kind of like my version of the old Scum engine, like what was used for like, and the first level, when Swampy came in and he was doing like building out events and stuff, it was like every room he was like, hey, I can't do X or I can't do Y. I need you to extend the system a little bit. And then he did the next level, the next dungeon, and he was like, wow, that was like way faster. And now so every level is getting faster. Like I said, I'm locking down systems so that I can just get into content, and then it's just going to be so I think we just need to get the groundwork done so that
and I mean,
and then
you're
we're
basically there. You're like
the game.
Well, you're like running towards the ribbon of systems right now. Like it's been a long slog because we wanted to do each thing like level 1 and 2 of that first dungeon needed to be fully complete for the event system to really to take shape, right? Everything we could this spell system, the rest, like all of those like needed to be done to be like, cool, now we know. And then town, which is why town is like what Sean's working on, is like, you don't have to go back to town until you're done with the first dungeon. Very much like actually playing it. Like you don't need to make up NPCs if you know the party won't make it back to town yet.
Right. Yeah, because I remember when I first played through the demo a while ago, and even now when I went back to the comment threads on Steam and looked at the discussion posts going on, people are like, man, I hope there's an editor for this so I can build my own dungeons out. And I really think you have something very special with the game itself, how it looks and how it plays, that people are going to flock to. Like Grimrock, you mentioned that earlier. I love playing through Grimrock. It was fun. And then I went through the editor and it's just like, it's not as fun, because everything kind of bled together with Grimrock. But like your system and your design and all the art, it's like I kind of want to build a world out in that as well too. I
funny,
really think there's something special there.
I worked on another game where everyone wanted an editor. It was this game called Just Shapes and Beats. Great game, right? Really popular. It's a party game. But one of the funniest things about that. Oh yeah, all right. I worked on that forever. I love that thing. But the truth of it was that the tools we used to build every level were not for you. So we had a beta. We let some like very small couple of people play it, and they were like, "Wow, it's really hard to build levels." And we're like, "We know, because like it's a tool meant for us. It's not accessible for humans at all." And like
humans,
that's so much the truth of like every game system
Yeah.
that wasn't built from the ground up to be modular, right? Like Neverwinter Nights is a great example of a system where, like, from day one, very clearly, they wanted you to work on that game, right? They built hooks into the whole thing. And like most games just don't function like that, because like I guarantee you, if anyone tried to design levels, they like with Weepstone, all the constraints would make them like bleed from their eyes, because there's just so much work.
Yeah, they're built for a traditional development pipeline, right? And not for some guy that has played the game to come in and be like, oh, let me just like
So much work goes
drag
into
and drop
trying to
some
make
stuff
it.
into place. Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, and just all of the, like I was talking about earlier, all the extra hoops we jump through to make a room work and to make an encounter feel right. And, there's just, it is a hard, not even just even if the tools were great, to build in this world would be challenging. And as we've probably all seen, when there is an editing, the challenge, once there isn't tools to build dungeons, is finding the good ones, because now everybody's like, there's like a million work in progress, dungeons posted. And but I do very, very, very much want this first one to do well, so that we can so that the publisher is interested in doing a second one.
Yeah,
So,
I can guarantee you, like, when this comes out, I'm definitely buying it. I'm definitely gonna play it on a stream for a Grumpy Dungeon Master stream, um, and I'm definitely gonna be looking forward to the second one. Like, just the demo alone, like you've bought a lifetime fan, and I know many other people that I've like. So just a little bit like about me is like I play Adventures League, or I run Adventures League for my local gaming store, and they're all a bunch of old grognards. So I told them all about Secret of Weepstone, and they're
awesome.
like, I don't know, I don't like computer games. I was like, listen, this is the 21st century. You need to play computer games. And it was Secrets of Weepstone that I said, you play this demo and tell me if you like it. And they're like, well, I don't have a Steam account. So then I walk them through getting a Steam account and how to use all this.
You're out here doing the work. All right.
Yeah. And then they download the demo. They play demo. It's like, this game is amazing. It's like, yeah, I know. It's like, when does the game come out? I'm like, I don't know. So
working on it.
Yeah. So
I appreciate that. That word of mouth is huge.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Every grognard who plays video games will have it on day one. Have no
I
doubt.
hope so. I hope so.
That's the dream. It's been cool to see it. Like, we suspected as grognards that, if we make a game that we would probably like other people but like, it's been cool to see, like, at PAX, we've taken it a couple times now, to see that it like reaches outside of that. Cause like, I was curious, right? It'd be like, if you're 15 and you've played 5e and nothing else, are you going to find any joy in this game at all? And the answer is like, yeah. I'm like, oh, awesome. Cool.
I think we were kind of touching on it earlier at the beginning of the conversation, where like all these new systems that have come out, especially since the OGL debacle, and everyone else coming out with their own variations of what 5th edition would be, and just the rise in Shadow Dark, just everyone playing Shadow Dark no matter where you turn. And then you look at this, and yes, it's not Shadow Dark, but it's the same blood.
Sure, drawn from a similar well is what I always say about things like that, right? Because like, they go back to the same appendix N we do, right? Like, we're all looking at the same like weird, like, Lovecraftian horror, like Conan story, black and white, like, I love it. Like, Shadow Dark as a game, its aesthetics appeal to me a lot. Mechanically, I find it really interesting. There's a lot of cool systems in there. I think it's like clean is how I would describe it. It's a clean system, which is high praise for me, at least. And like, I think people are starting to realize that, like, it's not that 5e is bad. It's just that it is the default. And then once you realize, like, oh, there's a lot of like work the dungeon master has to do to run 5e, but if you've never run anything else, you don't realize that immediately, right? But you bust open BX and you're like, wow, this module tells me how much gold each guy is carrying and like everything, and just assumes that my players are going to want to kill everybody. That's wild. You're like, yeah.
Because they are.
I think you hit the point right there about 5e and 5e 2024 or 5.5, whatever the hell we're talking about now.
Sure.
They renamed it, I guess, because everyone was calling it 5.5.
I think they finally went 5.5.
Yeah,
I think they admitted it. Yeah.
Yeah, they finally admitted it. They're just hilarious because a game that we worked on with Chris, the Kingdom of Keshinar game, they sent it out to print just as they were changing it from 5e 2024 to 5.5. So all the books got printed saying 5e 2024.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that a lot of the people who play D&D nowadays don't understand how much prep work it takes even to run a by the book module. Like we all ran or played in the Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign, and I ran Curse of Strahd.
Cool.
And if you just run it by the book and don't prep beyond just whatever is exactly in the book, it's going to be a really weird and kind of lame game.
My huge problem with, I got a bunch of them right here, right? I bought a bunch of them to read them and stuff. I ran a couple about halfway through because that's how far my players would stay on the rails, which is the most confusing part of that approach to me is I always liked the 3-module arc system because, hey, if your players are having a great time and like, module 1 into 2 into 3 is a campaign, let's do it. But what if it's like, my players didn't like it, or they burned the entire town down, or they, cool, that module's done. We just put it in a little box, and then we buy a second different module, right? As opposed to, well, I got this hardback book that we're on page 10 of.
Oh my God. Yeah. Tell me about it. Just the fact that every module, other than I guess like the reprints of old modules like Tales from the Unending Portal, was a novel. I mean, I started running Farm Frostmaiden during COVID. We played every 2 weeks, and it took me almost 4 years to complete it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, good job.
Like a year or two. I can't
You're
believe
probably,
you finished it.
I mean, that's amazing.
But by the same token, like if I just ran exactly what was in the book, I don't know that I would have kept the player's interest. So that's part of the behind the scenes of being a DM, of how much work it takes to prep for a game. But when you go
I find
DX, Shadowdark, Pyroborg, any of those like that, half the stuff is just the random shit that just happens, and just the fact that roll on the D66 chart and we'll figure out what this pirate's up to, or roll a D6 and find out if there's a wandering monster that's going to hamper your camping outside, or the torch went out, let's see whether something's showing up. I mean,
sometimes you go drinking and have all your magic items stolen that you then have to go hunt down.
Yeah, and the story unfolds for everybody, including the DM, in front of everybody, rather than me spending twice the time I end up actually gaming, writing the options of things that can happen, because there's so much prep work that has to go into that game. I agree. Same thing, honestly, with Pathfinder too. Like I loved playing Pathfinder, but
it's crunchy. The combat's solid, but one of the things I think I miss when I play more modern systems, in many cases, right, is D&D 5e. I haven't seen the new. I haven't looked at 5.5, right, a little bit, but not a whole lot. The greatest example of a divergence from my expectation as a perma DM, right? I play in someone's campaign once every 5 years for like 2 sessions and go back to DMing. But is my wife bought the box for Spelljammer, right? The Spelljammer box. And I read through it and I was like, that's cool. So there's like nothing in here for me as the dungeon. Like there's nothing I would actually need to run combat in space. Like the most offensive, frustrating part I found was like them taking the rules from like just the book D&D, right, and grafting them into this Spelljammer book where you're like, well, we're in magical spaceships floating through gravityless space, right? That's cool. How far does a cannon shoot? The same normal range of cannon shoots in just standard D&D. Wait, hold on. Gravity doesn't exist though. Is that whole? And it's like a lot of stuff like that where you're like, so I'm fixing your rules to make it run in a way that just seems cohesive with like reality. And you're like, that's very frustrating. I paid you for rules. Like,
and what's worse is that they had the rule system in 2nd edition. They just chose not to bother doing them. We have an entire episode where we bitch about how shitty the Spelljammer release was.
It's just very frustrating because there's a lot of time spent on like weird things that don't need to be there, right? They're not helpful to like run Spelljammer, and then they have something like, all right, they tell you there's a bubble around this ship, right? There's a bubble, and I think they do tell you the circumference, right? But you can see that it's an oval in the graphic, and they don't tell you the average height. And I was like complaining to my wife because I pulled out calipers and like figured out the ratio, because I was just like, look, I need to know, because like, what if you jump? And like, how there are characters who can jump 20 feet. Like, is that how high the bubble is? That's interesting and useful to know, that you can accidentally jump entirely out of your ship's gravity bubble. I wish that you would tell me if that's a concern, please.
I think
Yeah,
there was at some point a shift from, like, if you look at the older editions, most of the books are modules and things for the DM. They're not selling to the players. They're selling to the DM to support him running the game, running new types of games, giving you more options for things your characters can do in the games that you're running. But now they're selling to the players, and that DM support has fallen, down the dungeon.
Well, they've sacrificed a lot of the useful information for readability too, right? You bust open, go get yourself a copy of Keep on the Borderlands, bust that bad boy open. There's not a lot there, in the best way, right? It's just, there's not a lot. It's very bare bones, and you just fill it in. That's how it works. Your friends are going to do some dumb bullshit, and that's the game. You're playing the game, like, right? Like, that's all you need.
One of the things that cracks me up about like modules like Caves of Chaos is, when there's like the whole keep is like mapped out, and there's like tells you all these different rooms and like what's in them. And it's like, in all the years I've played, and in all the many times I played that module, like we never went into any of that. But as a DM, I loved that knowledge existed. I love that you could see that. That's actually in the town of Weepstone. There will be, hopefully, I can work in where you can look in some of the other buildings, and you can, anyway, but
Just
I
to see it,
detract.
right?
But I do have to kind of wind it up, everyone. I've got to get going.
Let's real quick, grumpy story from you guys. You can think of us just one. I know we're getting very close to the hour.
Yep.
So who'd like to take it? Who's got the grumpier story?
You want to go, Sean?
No, I mean, I know you go first, because I know your story, and it's a great one.
All right, so you guys, this one's not a tabletop RPG specific one. This is a tabletop game, like board game style. So back in the day, Sean used to run a company I worked for called Jinx, right? We made like gaming t-shirts and stuff. And so one of the things we did just for fun with our friends and like other people that worked there was like, it was Wednesday primarily, was game night, right? Like after work closed down, we'd have people over to what was called the Fortress, the Jinx Fortress, our office, and like drink beers, play board games, hang out. And so we told everybody, hey, it's open to friends of people, right? It's like, bring your best friend, bring whoever. And so I invited somebody I knew from like high school, just kind of sort of casually. And he was like one of the earlier people who joined or whatever, but it was primarily like people who worked at the company, me, Sean, and like our closest friends, right? Playing board games. And there's of course a mix of like competitiveness levels, but on average, we were not playing competitive Settlers, right? It was a pretty beer and pretzels kind of.
Settlers, okay.
Well, no, I'm just saying like a big range of games, right? If you don't want to play Settlers, don't play Settlers. It could be Munchkin, right? Like whatever.
Okay.
And specifically, the one that finally tilted it is like after a while, people kept not wanting to play with someone I had invited, and I was like kind of the maestro, like being like, "How many you got? 4? Why didn't you guys play that?" And I kept having this one person, people be like, "I don't really want to play with him." And I remember the one that just like turned it was. He was the kind of guy you'd play Munchkin with, and he'd be ahead, which I don't know if you guys have played Munchkin, but that's the signal for everyone to turn on you simultaneously, right? Like everyone, and he'd take
Fond
that
memories of
personally.
that. I'm always the guy that gets ahead and then immediately gets annihilated.
That's the game, man. That's the
I
whole
know,
point.
I know.
And so he'd get mad and he'd be like, I'll remember that. And then later you'd be playing a separate, different, unrelated game. And then he would like take it out on you later. You're like, what? And he's like, this is for Munchkin. And you're like, we are playing Seven Wonders. Like, what? And so after a while, it's the one and only time I've ever had to be like, your vibe is off, man. I'm so sorry. Like at one point I told him like, people are having a really hard time enjoying playing with you because you're so competitive at these incredibly non-competitive games. And it just eventually had to be like, I'm sorry, man. Like, you can't. The vibe is off. Like, we're just trying to have a decent time on a Wednesday. You're killing me, brother.
We're just drinking beers and playing games, man.
I desperately wanted it to work too. I remember being like, "Come on, man, please! Like, we're friends. I want you to be there, but not if you're like this." Yeah. Ugh. There you go.
It happens.
It's my grumpy story.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to role playing, and I always, I'm typically, if Hunter is not DMing, then I'm DMing. So, and I grew up DMing. Hunter's just really good at it. And so, but one of my biggest pet peeves was always parties that move really, really slow. Um, just they've got the 10-foot pole out and they're moving like 1 foot at a time and tapping the whole time. And every door is like a 20-minute, it just drives me nuts. And so at the table, like when my friends typically play, we have some got people that we play with that are kind of meta gamers. And I'm thinking of the one, the time I'm talking about, Hunter. This guy we were playing on, if he hears this, he might hear this, and that's fine. But he was driving us nuts because he was like, "All right, I'm gonna have my owl. He's gonna scout ahead." It was an owl. He's like, he's gonna fly ahead. He can do this, and he was like one of those Munchkin meta type gamers where there was no adventure left when we were playing. He had the whole.
Hey, to his credit, that is the most optimized way to play that. Like, he was the safest party member to have. He had your back.
We knew the entire dungeon layout from his pet. Anytime there was danger, he's like, "Now I hide in shadows. I can't be targeted." I mean, it was just like,
it's pretty funny.
There was no more adventure. I'm the person who role plays, and I'm like, if my character is dumb, I'm doing something dumb. It's gonna happen, and it's gonna affect everybody probably. And sorry, but that's what my character is gonna do.
Yeah,
It's gonna be like that, Chris.
I'm thinking of Chris causing me to have 6 hit points permanently. Thanks,
I
man.
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the kind of game I like to run is a really loose. Have fun, try stuff. Don't overthink everything and try to win. Just try to be successful, but let's try to get through this one shot tonight. Let's not make a one shot a 3-night experience.
Yep.
So that's what I bitch about most, probably.
We get that one. We were playing Shadow Dark this Friday. Players are taking forever. I'm one of the players, and my character's like, "Look, man, our torch is burning down. We gotta go. Let's go. Quit worrying about the door. Quit coming up with these crazy plans. Just fucking move."
Yeah, that is one of the best. That is one of the best parts about Shadow Dark is the torch mechanic. And I see some people like on Reddit and other forums talking like, "Yeah, I do everything in Shadow Dark except we don't use the torch." I'm like, "Why the fuck are you playing this game
the torch,
then?" Like,
keeps you moving.
Because we have a broad variety of players in Christian's Shadow Dark game. We have players that started in AD&D. We have players that started in 4th edition, and everyone has different experience. So, like my brother, for example, is he's an old grognard who has the 10-foot pole, who's throwing out stones like he's Indiana Jones. He's checking everything for traps, like. If he was playing the rogue, he was checking every square ahead of you for traps. Yeah. And then mapping it out.
Which, here's the thing, to his credit, if you're in like Tomb of Horror, right? That's what those Tomb of Horror style modules were for, is like, all right, bring your metagame. Good luck.
So the first couple sessions of Christian's game, like, he was pulling this shit and like we're just like burning through torches, and then finally we're like, we just gotta fucking go, guys. We don't have time for this bullshit. Just kick the door in and go.
I know.
And it's just a breath of fresh air because it moves the game along rather than just me twiddling on my phone while somebody's trying to make a fucking check for traps, percentage roll, or whatever it is in the system. And it's like, I just want to move along and continue about the story or exploration, whatever we're doing.
Yeah. So, and we really do try to make it obvious when you need to start being careful, or so that you don't have to play that way. That was one of the things that came up. Like one of the questions that we've actually had more than once was, because at some of the doors you can listen, but you can't listen at all the doors. And so someone said, well, you're going to put that on everything, right? So you can always listen in this. And the answer to that is no, because now you have to always do listen, and that's going to really slow the game down. And it's when you can listen, it's almost like a way of saying you might need to do this right now. And sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes you don't hear anything, but it's just not always present because, that's again,
If it's always present, it's nothing. Yeah. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
you'll see that coming. Those kinds of all of these things when Hunter and I talk about these ideas, it's always like, well, how do we normally play it? Like resting. You can't just rest. You can't rest. You have to find a safe room right now in Weepstone that's safe to rest, and this is how we would do it. And then if you're not tired, you can't rest. Like if you just woke up and healed a little bit and you got your spells back, and then you have one encounter, you can't just go to bed again. And so the game, the way that I built that into the engine is you actually have to keep exploring. Like every time you explore a new area, every time you go into a new room, or if you have like an encounter, that's going to move time forward. That's like you're experiencing this world, you're doing things, and that's going to make you more tired. And then if you're tired enough, then yes, you can rest again in a safe place. But
You can't do
again,
the infinite alpha strike rest loop, right? And you're like, welcome
yeah,
to combat. All spells go. All right,
back and
sleep.
forth on your tile.
Yeah.
You can't just walk away from your keyboard for 30 minutes. Like you have to explore, you have to adventure.
I love
That's
it.
how you
Right.
get tired.
Awesome.
All right, so it's Secret of Weepstone on Steam. You guys coming out on the consoles as well too? I'm guessing. Yes. No.
The long-term goal, usually we're PC first as a publisher, right? Generally speaking, like most indies, but since it's going to have controller support on PC, that is one of the more challenging things when you target consoles later. So
Mhm.
we always try to have PC controller support at launch to make it easier to consider porting for sure. Like,
Yeah.
because that's always generally the idea is like, hey, if it does well and people like it, we'd love to port, like generally
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's the
Have
hope.
you guys thought about, since it's already laid out so much like this, would you guys ever put out this as an actual BX module?
That was
Yes.
my next
Like pen and
question.
paper?
That is something we've considered.
Yeah,
Can you
really
not
love
consider
that.
it and actually do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
I mean, if you need help, I know some grumpy dungeon masters might help.
Sure.
yeah, that was a very early part of the plans was to release not just a PDF. Like I love like physical media, so I would love to
Yeah.
see. And it is a 3 module arc. It's all one game, but the 3 acts
Mhm.
are like modules. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so we would love to have the 3 printed modules that can
It-
you can
when
hold in
you
your
open the
hands.
map and it goes to the old module,
Oh,
like
yeah.
fold out, and you see the
Oh,
map
man.
there. It's
The
just
nostalgia. Yeah.
it's so perfect.
I mean,
I'm so glad you liked that. Was like every pixel has been slaved over. I promise you to get to
Thank
until
you.
it felt
We-
good, until it felt.
yeah, we could tell just by playing it. The love is there.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is
any
one of the
other-
things I'm most excited about.
any other
awesome.
any other locations you guys want to plug or
Yeah, I mean, like Sean said, there is like an X Twitter that you can go to, which is Talesworth Games, right? Is it Talesworth Games or
It's
just
just
Talesworth?
Talesworth.
Talesworth. Yeah, that's right. You got it so early. You didn't even need to. So at
Yeah.
Talesworth on X. And then there is a Discord for Talesworth Game Studio itself if you want to talk directly with Sean's on there all the time.
I live on Discord. You can always find me there.
Dread XP, us as the publisher, we do have a Discord as well. Generally for us, a lot of that's like you can report bugs and stuff. But if you want to talk directly to Sean, your best bet's going to go on the Talesworth specific Discord. But yeah, keep your eyes on the Steam page. We do like occasional Steam blog post updates and things like that when we've got news. That's usually your best bet. That like we will tweet about it. It'll be on Discord. It'll be on the Steam page. We're definitely telling everyone all of the time when we do have news. So.
Right.
Yeah, when I looked at you guys as the publisher initially, I didn't know you guys were connected that much, and I saw the
That's a long story we don't have time for, but it's very funny and good. Yeah.
the sucker for
Excellent.
love artwork. Like, yeah, there's a lot of fantastic titles. It looks like out there. But thank you guys so much for coming out and talking a little bit about Secret of Weepstone. Like I said,
Yeah.
we're all really excited for it. We're eagerly awaiting it, and I know there's a lot of other people that are as well too. And thank you for just kind of going through everything. And yeah, you got 4 buyers at least. So you know,
Awesome.
whatever. So we do
We're making
we
a
do a
second
product.
one then.
We do a product of the year review every year, and I guarantee you this is mine whatever year it comes out. You're like, hands down, you already got my seal of approval.
Excellent. Take it.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right,
Yeah,
thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks everyone. Great meeting you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
See ya.